You said plenty of negative stuff, positive stuff, and negative stuff about Hasan.
Yeah.
This is my podcast, so I get to force you to say positive things. What do you love?
Oh,
I'm
no.
all about love.
Let's go back to grilling me on the R word stuff. You're going to make me compliment Hasan? This is going to be a harder conversation than that.
All right, we're gonna get you to feel emotions.
Okay.
So he's another. For people who don't know, he's another popular political streamer. I think you had, as the kids call it, a bridge burning over Bernie Sanders. I don't know. My research is very limited on this.
Sure.
But what do you respect and love most about Hasan?
He puts in a lot of work. When he was like growing his stream from 2,000 concurrent viewers to 15,000, he was streaming it was like 12 hours a day, like every single day. So that was admirable. He did a lot of work. He does seem to be pretty good at networking and like socializing and making the correct friends and connections to continue to build his business.
What about him as a political thinker? I know you don't think highly of him on that regard,
Really
but I think that's unfair.
Oh,
I think that's
man.
unfair. I'd honestly want to push back on that because
Okay. I have zero respect for him as a political thinker. There's not going to be almost anything.
So you can't-
I will say I admire the fact that through no actual capability or ability of his own, he manages to wind up at some of the correct answers just because he's towing the line. So
that is
good job for him on that. He's got a lot of correct opinions, just he has no idea why. So
I think that's undeserved. I think that's too harsh, man.
okay.
The reason I bring that up because I feel like there is a deep grudge in there somehow. So you're the father now, so since you're so old, the grandfather of the political debate on live stream political debater. So there could be some grudge about that split that happened or not enough credit given or all that kind of stuff. I just think he's somebody that has a left-leaning ideology that's different than yours. He was a Bernie supporter, right? And I guess you were not. Can you explain to me where the division is?
He exemplifies everything that I absolutely hate about
Which
politics.
is what?
Which is shallow engagement, heavily ideologically driven.
And you're not ideologically different.
Absolutely not.
So
Free of ideology.
that's when we're talking about like the free thinker in the real meaning of that word.
Yeah. So
Meaning
let me qualify that,
issue by issue thinking.
Let me qualify what I mean when I say that. I spent a lot of time, unfortunate time, delving into the boring world of philosophy. I spent a lot of time thinking about like, what are my ethical positions? How do I feel about myself, the people around me, and how that relates to the world around me? And then from all of these positions, I think you might have used the phrase first principles earlier.
Mm-hmm.
From these kind of like first principles, out of that is where all of my political positions are built out of. Like full stop. So if you ask me a question like, how do you feel about like the right to own a firearm, or how do you feel about social health care? Like we can walk through, well, this is how I feel about it as like a thing from the government. This is where the government gets its power. This is ethically how groups of people are supposed to function. This is morally how we relate to each other. And personally, this is how I feel like I'll be able to do every single political belief back there. It's not like I'm telling you, like if I were to ask Hasan, what do you feel about this political topic? He's going to tell me what progressives are supposed to say. I don't know what he thinks about it. I don't know if he
Don't you think that's a cynical take? Why is he, just because his views coincide with the mainstream narrative, mainstream viewpoints of progressive thinkers? Why does that mean he's not thinking?
Because his engagement with every subject is incredibly shallow, 100% predictable. Like I could probably program a script to like give you every single potential answer you could have to any single question you could give him.
I think that's a pretty cynical take.
Okay, it could be the case that his brain perfectly aligns with every single mainstream.
No, but I don't know if you know it perfectly aligns, because I think you're just taking a very select, just like streamers do of each other, a very select slice that represents the perfect alignment, as opposed to looking at a person struggling with ideas and thinking through ideas and then giving him a pass. Like a lot of people, like I give you a pass on just the fact that you say a lot of crazy shit on stream for drama. Like, which is,
I don't say things for drama. They might be dramatic, but
I mean, you've evolved as a fish evolves legs. You've evolved a mechanism which creates controversy.
Sure.
That you could say it's not intention, but it happens. I think
okay, sure.
The extremists kind of learn that kind of thing, and so I'm sure Hasan does the same kind of stuff. And so, like underneath it, there's still a thinking being that's contending with political ideas.
Okay,
You don't think
he
so?
does a really good job at hiding it.
Right.
There are other political figures that I really don't like that I wouldn't say the same thing about. So, like, I don't know if you have Vaush written in there. Like, okay, that's a person
Who's
that
Vaush?
he also split out of my community and grew to something, and now he hates me, and he's an anti-fan community, and they all hate me.
Okay,
blah,
tell
blah,
me something you love about Vaush.
I can tell you a lot of things about Vaush.
Let's
I
go.
think Vaush legitimately thinks through a lot of his political positions. I admire, or did admire, that he has like his own like positions he would take sometimes contrary to people further left than him. He's got some positions that don't fit his ideology kind of at all. Like he's his own independent thinker. Rhetorically, he's very effective. He was willing to sit down and do research for like his debates and everything. He would spend a lot of time practicing like his rhetorical effectiveness and navigating conversations. He intentionally and purposefully built like a community that exemplified his values. Yeah, I've got a lot. I don't. We are completely split and hate each other now. But like, I have a lot.
Why hate? First of all, hate is a strong. Why the hate?
Okay, I don't hate him, but he hates me because we had a couple of really big debates.
What happened?
Well, one had to do with whether or not you should live your values.
And can you give me the story that's a charitable interpretation?
I always give charitable interpretation.
You don't.
I do.
You don't.
I absolutely do.
You don't.
Wait, name one time I haven't.
5 minutes ago, you talking about Hasan.
Everything I said about Hasan is true. There is no steel man there. Okay,
That's not charitable.
I'm sorry. If you can prove me wrong, I would love for you to do it. Okay.
I'm using my gut instinct.
Your
Usually, when
gut?
somebody feels strongly about another person in that way, it's not coming from a place of data and reason. It's coming from a place of emotion. It's coming from a place of resentment and grudge and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I
But there's
understand.
there's emotions deep in there. So the got you is hiding. The got you is a surface of an iceberg, and there's a deep ocean underneath that you yourself have not explored.
I disagree, but I understand.
And lav is actually a doorway. The young lav is a doorway for you to explore the depths of
get into that ocean to find my fish, my pre-evolve form.
Yeah.
I understand why you think the way you do, and you should. You shouldn't believe me, and I understand that because if somebody told me the same thing, I'd think you probably just really don't like this person for a reason or two. I understand why you think that way. Okay. The reality is, though, for any political person that I disagree with, like I can give them a fair shake. It's one of the few things I think I do exceedingly well on my stream. Even with Hasan, there's been drama that he's been involved in, and I've like when I'm involved in drama, he'll always throw me under the bus. But when he's involved in stuff, I'll always say, like, oh, like I think Hasan was right here, or I think that he meant this. There was a thing that came up once. We're on Livestream Fail. He was getting roasted because he referred to somebody. He used the expression "shit skin" to refer to somebody's like the way they looked, and I have only ever heard that in the context of 4chan people talking about like Indians or like black people. Like it's a racial thing. But I could tell the context and everything that he was saying. He was insulting some guy. I think he was called like incel virgin or whatever. He was going for like acne skin. I think that's what he meant when he said it. And there were a whole bunch of people that were insulting. He was like, oh my God, did he just say racist term? And I was like, no, I don't think he was racist. I think he was just reaching for words and that's what came out. So like that's an example of me being charitable.
But okay, but didn't you criticize him for something? I was trying to like Googled why the hell you guys split out because I thought you're friends. You should be like
You split up over a Kamala Harris video, but go ahead. What were you?
Is that why? Is that the so? Did you, I feel like you criticized him over something, and okay, this is very vague memory, but you criticized him over something, and I felt that criticism wasn't charitable.
Was it Pete Buttigieg stuff?
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg. Yes.
Yeah. So I've said this a million times, but no amount of context or no amount of nuance is ever acceptable to people. I don't think Hasan is homophobic, but I think the comments made about Pete Buttigieg were really homophobic.
That's what he said, right?
Yeah. And there were a lot of people making a lot of comments that made me really uncomfortable about Pete Buttigieg. That was insane to me.
Spurred by the comments of Hasan?
No, but it was an environment of progressives. All the progressives were attacking Pete, and I felt like his gayness became like the subject.
Yeah, but why throw Hasan under the bus for that?
Because he was jumping along with all of those types of like insults.
You don't think you've done the same kind of stuff?
If I do, call me out on it, and I'll probably say I shouldn't have done that.
That's what the R word was about.
That's fine. That's a good call out. Yeah.
No, but like your friend, like you should privately tell him, right? Like, hey.
Well,
like,
no, by then we were sworn enemies,
so that wasn't the reason.
No. It was over a Kamala Harris video.
Sworn enemies.
Yeah. He hates me. What am I supposed? Listen, for all of these people, I will accept them back into my life if they ever want to come back in at any point in time. But usually they're the ones that
if they correct themselves, right?
No, I'm not expecting anybody. Here's the deal with Vaush and Hasan. These are like we're the three guys online. None of us will talk to each other. Hasan because he won't give clout to anybody, and Vaush because he thinks I'm bad faith. And then neither of them will talk to me because they both hate me.
You guys should go like on a camping trip together. It's like Brokeback Mountain, but 3-way. And just like refine
could be a thing.
Appreciation for each other. Honestly, just from the internet perspective, for me as just stepping into this world, there's some aspect to which you have a responsibility. I hate that word. You have
Good word.
you
Don't
have,
run from
you
it.
have an opportunity. I wish you guys would kind of be the beacon of like forgiveness and friendship and like camaraderie and that
Yeah,
kind
I
of stuff.
agree. And even if we disagree, it would be really good content
Yeah,
for
like
us to argue with
shit
each other.
talk, like friends shit talk.
Sure.
Versus not like the fact that you guys don't talk to each other. Like I would love for you to shit talk publicly with the camaraderie always there. Like there's love in the beginning, love in the end, but you beat the shit out of each other in the middle, and that's what live streaming is for. The political discourses. That's great political discourse.
Yeah.
Versus, I think what underlies it is some jealousy and so on. With this, you
From
get
that.
this many follow.
I just want to make sure you're clear to your audience.
Everybody has to your audience.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have flaws that I'm just not. I mean, in this dynamic,
Hard to find, because I'm.
your only flaw is you're too modest. Yeah. So why did you guys split up? Because I would love it, honestly. Just let me just put that idea out there for you guys to make up. And
Yeah, it's out there, of course. It's everybody talks. Me, Vaush, and Hasan. It's crazy that like the three largest like political debate left-leaning people online like can't do any type of content or collaboration at all. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's strange. What was the reason you guys split up? The Kamala Harris?
So Hasan's entry into kind of like the Twitch political debate world was in, I think, 2018. I think he did a debate with Charlie Kirk. And he reached out to me to kind of like review that debate, to like go over it on stream. And he came on, we went over it, and then we kind of friendship developed. We hung out in real life. I think when I came to LA, I think I slept on his couch. We played with his dog. We were like kind of friends. And as time went on, I think he was a little bit more he was farther left than he let on. So like I was a social democrat, he was a social democrat. But back in those days, like 2018, when people said they were a social democrat, they really meant socialist, but they just didn't want to say it. So he was farther left than me. And we had a lot of deep divides in our approach to politics. Whereas like I was very much like a first principles, this is my whole political position. And he was very much kind of like this is like the political ideology I'm involved in. And this is kind of like the field that I kind of like navigate in. So there were a couple instances where these divides would be laid very bare. One was when it was either him or the Young Turks. I think it was him. There was a shooting in a neighborhood where a very young black child gets killed by a white shooter. And they did a video about like hate crimes and how hate crimes are on the rise between races and white people are evil and blah, blah, blah. Not that, but like white people committing hate crimes against black people. And I remember saying to him, I was like, hey, we don't have all the data yet for this. It feels really bad to make videos about this beforehand because it's the same type of shit that happens at airports. Is there a thing going on? Was it a brown person? Are they Muslim? It's Islamic extremism. We see this played out so many times in recent history. Probably not a good idea to jump to conclusions. And he's like, well, no, you don't understand. Like, it's not that big a deal, whatever. And obviously, as the story goes, tale as old as time, the data comes out. It was just an errant shot. There was like gang violence. Shot goes out of nowhere, hits a kid in the car. It wasn't like a hate crime. The guy was trying to kill a kid. But yeah, we basically we bump up against a few kind of political disagreements like this. And an annoying thing is happening in my community where Hasan is like the serious political figure because he's from the Young Turks. And I'm just kind of like, I do politics, but I also game. And anytime I criticize Hasan, people are like, Destiny, you need to be more respectful. He does this full time. If you're going to bring criticisms, you need to be like really well read and researched because he's got a, more serious whatever, which I thought was ridiculous.
So by the way, if people don't know, he worked at the Young Turks, which is
like the largest left-leaning YouTube channel probably, or
at least at the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So finally, he did a video on, we skip ahead to some more minor disagreements. He does a video on Kamala Harris. He calls it Kamala Harris. And it's like 7 or 8 horrible things about Kamala Harris. And I'm like, okay, I know at least 1 or 2 of these things are not fully accurate. So I'm going to do all the research. I'm going to have all the sources and we're going to have a long conversation about it so that now when I provide criticism to him, it's not going to be like this horrible, like just me saying something flippantly or whatever. It's going to be like substantial criticism. So I was on a plane ride, JFK to Orlando, whatever, flying to Sweden to visit my wife. And on the plane, I review all of the video, all the data, do all the research, and I write everything. I'm just like, okay. I get to my my wife's dad's house, and I'm at the table. We're having a conversation like, hey, we should talk about the Kamala Harris stuff. And he's like, okay, well, let's do it. And we go over it, and I'll leave to the audience to watch the video. Enough people have said this. I feel pretty confident saying this. I was pretty reasonable, pretty measured, pretty calm the whole time. And I think he started to get increasingly irritated that I was levying like more and more serious criticisms at like the quality of work that he did. Probably because he felt a little bit intimidated, I think, by my willingness to like dive through political stuff. There'd been a couple of awkward blowups where like on there's like a show called The Raj Royale where sometimes politics would come up and Hasan would kind of try to explain something. And there was another person one time on the show that made the joke. It's like, instead of Hasan taking 10 minutes to explain this, can Destiny just come here and explain it in 30 seconds? And he like exploded at that. He got so fucking mad at that. So yeah, I think that when I made that kind of call out or critique of him over the Kamala Harris stuff, he's probably feeling like increasingly irritated, threatened, agitated. And then that's kind of what began the huge split from our...
So you don't think you were a dick at all?
I don't think so in that conversation. Especially given that, like, at that point, because this is still 2018 or this might be 2019, I'm still known at that point as being very aggressive towards conservatives or alt-righters.
Like, oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So, and with lefties is what I call them. I think I'm being like very gentle. Like my conversational style with conservatives is like, you're a fucking idiot. You're so dumb. Blah, blah. Like that's how I'm like doing. So like with him, I'm like, well, don't you think that like this is like a little bit of like an inconsistent presentation of how like I feel like I'm being nice, but I always leave to the audience so they can go and watch that Kamala Harris video, Destiny Hasan, if they think that I was being indignant. But a lot of people watching said I was being pretty gentle. So.
Well, let me say,
yeah,
as a new fan of this space, I hope you guys make up and I hope you guys fight it out in the space of discourse and ideas.
Me too.
And also with empathy, understanding what the strength of the other person is, what their buttons are. And, you know, there's like an unspoken rule that you don't press the buttons that you don't need to. Unless you're doing it mutually and it's fun. Because, you know, it's fun to piss each other off. So,
yeah, of course.
That's kind of like what friends do. You don't cross a certain line. But then other than that, you fight it out.